I'm Dr. Deborah Elkis-Abuhoff. I'm the director of the Creative Art Therapy program at Hofstra University. We would like to welcome everyone from around the country, around the world, to our annual virtual conference, The Power of Creativity During a Global Pandemic and Preparing for the Aftermath. This is session 7, the power of art and humor as a tool to improve communication, to prevent burnout in health professionals. And I'm going to turn it over to our presenter, Elyse Miller.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I will actually take off my nose for a little bit and my mask so you could hear me. I have a little bit of a coronavirus on my little mask here. Welcome to the 7th session of our first virtual conference. Apparently I'm the closer, so I'm excited to be here with all of you, reserved all my energy. I did ask, oops, my computer is being obnoxious. There we go. I did ask, whoops, go backwards one. For everybody to have some supplies with you. So I know we all have laying around our house the lovely disposable masks. If you have fabric ones you want to use, by all means. Markers, paint, pens. For me, I like using the Sharpie and the Bic pens. Those work best for me when I'm drawing on the masks. So please definitely take some time to draw on your mask, or plural masks is fine too. At some point, I'm going to ask everybody to put your mask on that you've created during the workshop, and we'll get a nice big shot of all of us later on throughout the day of the workshop. And I am going to have you at some point move around too. I know that this has been a very long day. It's been an amazing day. Meeting everybody here virtually, as Dr. Elkis mentioned, around the world. It's been amazing. So I am going to actually dive right in. Some of you may have heard some of this in the past, especially some of my students. I've made some alters and changes as life has changed for many of us. And I am going to have you all move around a little bit in your chairs. You're going to do some stretching, a little bit of humor, laughter, yoga in a couple of minutes. And we're going to get started. So the first, as others have mentioned, they've already talked about, is they have mentioned, oh, come on, computer. So here's some designs you can sort of look at. Okay. So they've talked about the word burnout, the word stress, some fatigue, and I am going to talk a little bit about what each one is, just to give you a little reminder, sort of wrap things up a little bit. I hope to not stress any of you out, nor give any of you any burnout hearing all this, but we'll have a little bit of fun. Like I said, it's been a long and amazing day. I've loved being part of this whole training. This is a picture I like to show, and there's a poem called First Fig. My candle burns at both ends. It will not last the night. And very often, those of us as therapists, students, administrators, loved ones, family, caretakers, so much is going on for us. In the past, this really has been a presentation for mental health providers, medical providers, you name it. And now it's, as therapists, as people, we're seeing more and more of this going on, I think, as some others have mentioned earlier today. Burnout isn't a rite of passage. So everyone on this page, it's not something everyone here should be experiencing. I'm hoping that people don't experience it, that when you get to that stressful moment that we'll talk about some signs, that you won't get to this part of having burnout. Burnout is emotional, it's mental, it's physical exhaustion. And with COVID going on, flu season, right, pneumonia season, we start to feel these things and we continue to work through feeling sick, which only makes it worse. When you're feeling burnt out, you're so overwhelmed, and it's really hard to just meet all these constant demands that we're having. So hopefully you're not feeling this. The stress continues, you lose interest, and your whole role just changes as a person and even as a therapist itself. I often hear from some students that I work with, wow, the therapist I'm working with just seems so exhausted. And they finally took a vacation day, mental health day. I'm like, after how long? They're like, years. So don't wait years. Those of you who have time, use your time. Take that vacation. Again, there is a difference between stress and burnout. some people thrive on being stressed out. They thrive on the fact that they've got nonstop, things are going nonstop. They could say, I've been on my 10th cup of coffee and it's only 3 o'clock. I'm like, wow, that's insane, but they keep going, right? Burnout, though, is when stress gets to a point where you just become like a machine. It's just nonstop. And again, they are different, right? I mean, stress is physical, it is psychological. Sometimes we imagine like, wow, when's it going to stop? But when you can see that silver lining, you're like, all right, I could take a break. I could take a rest. So I'm hoping that, yes, after this is over, at 4 o'clock, you're all going to do a little yoga, a little stretching, a little mindfulness, a little laughter, a little art. And you know what? It's okay to take a little nap too. Take a little breather, go outside and build a snowman. Burnout, though, is you just don't have enough time a day. You're empty. The motivation is gone and you just don't care anymore. So if you're starting to see any of this in yourselves, it's time to take a look and utilize some of the skills you've been learning throughout the day. When you're having this experience of burnout, it's really hard to see the positive in things. And yes, we've lived over a year now, almost a year. Next month will be a year of some stressful stuff going on in our country, over a year throughout the entire world itself. I am speaking a little fast because I got a lot to get in there for everybody. I apologize for that. Excessive stress, you're drowning, but you could tread water a little bit. Like, all right, I'm almost there. I'm almost to those steps where burnout, boom, you're just sinking. Okay. Some other differences is that, again, like I mentioned before, stress, you're aware, burnout, you're not aware. So not only what I want you to take from this is about taking care of yourself. I want you to also take care of your coworkers, your colleagues, people in your family. Kind of be mindful and say that, hey, listen, you seem a little stressed out. Go do this, go do that, take a walk, go have some chocolate. Always works for me. I did put up a chart here. So if you stop your art for 2 seconds and take a quick look at the differences between stress versus burnout, right? So we talked about with stress, you could still engage, you could still talk, you could still be there with others. It's when all of a sudden you start to disengage and you're not involved. That's when it becomes burnout. Your emotions, you could be overreactive. You might not be as nice as you normally are. You might be a little more obnoxious sometimes. Some people thrive on it and it's almost like a manic type of thing. Whereas with burnout, you're more blunted. Again, the urgency, hyperactivity for stress, helplessness, hopeless with burnout, loss of energy, but you keep going. But with burnout, that motivation is just gone. Anxiety versus some depression. And even physical changes in your body too will take effect as well. Again, stress you're going to recognize, burnout not so much. So it's nice to, again, look at each other, work with each other and see, well, how can I help myself and my colleagues recognize burnout? So what are some of the causes? Feeling overworked, undervalued. I could probably go across this screen and say, how many of you have actually taken a real vacation this past year? Okay, putting COVID aside, without COVID, the year prior, the beginning of 2020, 2019, when was your last vacation? Feeling frazzled. And when I say vacation, it could be a staycation too. It could be time that you just took some time off from work and did some true self-care time. I love looking at social media and people are at the beach. Sand around them. Yes, they're bundled up. Scarves are on. Different kind of masks because they're freezing out. We forget, those of you who live here on Long Island, we forget we live with beaches all around us. Some of the most beautiful beaches out there. Myself included, I often forget that I live on a beach area. I could just drive a little bit and I'm right there. I need to utilize that more myself, but it's always hard to practice what you preach. Sometimes you're frazzled. I mean, each of us here on this conference call, right? We have so much going on. We're taking care of ourselves. Well, not really, mostly taking care of everybody else. We've got our patients, our clients, our residents, administrations, supervisors, colleagues, loved ones that we're worrying about. I know my parents are in their late 70s. Yes, so they got their second COVID shot. And every hour, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? And they're like, stop annoying me already. but I was taking care of them, right? Kids, those of you in school, homework, housework, cooking, cleaning, it's a lot going on. And those of you who are overworked, you don't schedule self-care time. Sometimes we have to literally do that. Okay. So burnout is not caused solely by our stressful work or too many responsibilities. There are other factors that contribute to burnout, including our lifestyle and certain personality traits, right? So again, and yes, there's some repetition between some stuff you've heard earlier and stuff that I'm going to say. What do you do in your downtime? I know many people, it's their weekend. What are you doing today? Oh, I'm doing research. What about time for yourself? Well, it is time for myself, but I have a deadline. Did you schedule a time to at least even sit in front of your TV? I don't care. Throw in that Netflix stick and binge watch a show. Go for it, right? Go for a walk, sit outside, enjoy, go build, like I said, build a snowman. All right, feeling like you have little or no control over your work, lack of recognition. So anybody who's on here, who is a supervisor, an administrator, please make sure you're taking the time to thank your staff. We're all in this field of mental health care, right? We're so worried about taking care of others. Well, again, taking care of yourself, taking care of the people who work for you, just saying, hey, great job today. Here's a sticker. Look, if you can see I have stickers here. One of the things, as I was telling Dr. Elkis and Professor Anderson and Lauren, who were all working on this committee together for the conference, it's so hard for me not to be there in person with all of you. I have a whole bag full of noses sitting here that I'm like, oh man, this is so hard not to be throwing noses at all of you, and stickers to wear, just saying, hey, it's great you got here today. Put on that nose, be proud of that red nose. I don't care if you have a cold, it's now your tissue. Just, you're covering your face. But I hate that I can't give you that little sticker to make you feel better about yourself. And I know when we all talked about this, that was the hardest thing about not being together in person. But thankfully, we do have Zoom that we can be here in another format. Okay. Again, not enough time to relax, way too many things to do. So if I asked you all to pull out your phones or your date books and look at your schedule next week, can you actually see there's free time? And I'm not talking about your sleep time, a time during the day. And I'm guilty, very guilty of working through a lunch hour. Take that lunch hour, walk around your office, because yes, it's hard. Every time you leave, you have your masks on and you don't want to interact with people. Stand, stretch, move around, exercise, whatever it might be, just to take that break. So each of you right now, at least for Monday, then we'll work day by day. Please schedule some self-care time of just taking that break. And we're going to do an exercise, a little laughter break in a little while. Share responsibilities. This was actually a really cute saying I found. I'm so stressed out about being stressed out that I can't even remember why I'm stressed out, and it's stressing me out. And I know any of us who've gone through hospital audits, right? Joint Commission, OMH, accreditations, this is what we all say to each other. And we're like, well, we're getting audited. That's why we're stressed out. And you're like, really? And then all these other things come on your plate. Okay. Not getting enough sleep. So how many of you, when you get to bed, have your phone next to you and you're right looking at your emails? Social media, right? Lack of close supportive relationships. So that is one of the hardest things that we've all talked about throughout the day is with COVID, it's hard to have that close relationship. So that is when we're like, all right, thankfully, we do have virtual platforms. When the holidays were passing, you were able to still have holiday dinner with your loved ones, with your colleagues, having nice meetings, enjoying some friendship time, just hanging out with your friends. I've got teenagers at home, and sometimes they throw on their FaceTime or Zoom and they're all watching a movie together, and it's great. At least you have that kind of support and relationship. All right, let's look at some personality traits. And I'm curious how many of you are like this, because I know I'm very guilty of it at times myself. You're a perfectionist. right? Nothing is good enough for you, and you never delegate. Or that pessimist where everything is half empty instead of being half full. So we have to practice saying those kind of things. That, again, that control thing, not delegating. The high achievers, the type A personality. I know we have a bunch of professors on this call today, which is great. And I know I talk to my students with, take a deep breath. Don't overthink it. You know, like, I don't want you writing a full paragraph, write a couple of bullets. Stop making it harder for yourself. You know, did I get 100? Not a 98. I want 100. It's still an A, right? So we all probably could think of ourselves doing that and our students doing that. All right, I'm going to turn it now to compassion fatigue. And I think we're all, as mental health providers, as you can see, often we find ourselves down to the E, right? So if you think about your cars or Jeeps, my Wrangler, would I ever allow my Wrangler to get to that E? No. She's always got to be at least halfway, if not more, right? Why do we allow ourselves to get to the E? Compassion fatigue. And I did write a lot on a couple of these slides because I really wanted to push this in. It's stress resulting from helping or wanting to help people who are experiencing trauma or suffering. Please make sure you read that again to yourself. We've all been, as mental health providers, there's some art therapists on here, there's some music, some drama, some social workers, some psychologists. If I missed it, I apologize. But we're, as mental health providers, or some of you are soon to be budding mental health providers, COVID hit us hard. And I believe it was Vivian who mentioned earlier about 9/11. And I do remember working through that. But there was some answers. It was more tangible. We could feel it and see it and kind of go through that together as a cohort. COVID-19, but it's such a new world for all of us. Yes, many of us have been telehealth therapists prior, but now it's brand new for every one of us, well, most of us on this call. So I remember my private practice or my first day of teaching live. I was like, this is going great. And then about a week in, or even now, you look at the picture and you're like, okay, now it's going even more wonderful. And you look at his full beard. And those of you who know me well know how much I love Star Wars. So I had to get my Star Wars reference in here. Let me tell you, everybody, telehealth is not a fad. It's here to stay. So practicing some techniques to get you moving, right? Some of us, you know, our practice is like, all right, bang out this patient after patient after patient. You're actually doing more harm by not taking a break to them as well as to yourself, even if you give it a 10-minute break between each patient. And I get some clinics just want you going back to back to back, and then progress notes and treatment plans on top of that. Forget about it. There's a crisis mode. Got to schedule some of that time in between. Compassion fatigue is a secondhand shock. It's a secondary stress reaction. Again, we want to help people. This is why we went into the field of creative arts, is to help people. And one of the hardest things for us as creative arts therapists is not only do we hear what's going on, we're seeing what's going on. Whether they're drawing it out for us, painting it out for us, a sculpture, whether it's dance movement or a music, and you could feel it. It's more than just, let me tell you how bad my day was, right? Okay, so people sometimes call compassion fatigue burnout. They're a little bit different. Compassion fatigue is a little bit more treatable. It is sudden, whereas burnout is over time. So if you don't notice your compassion fatigue, vicarious trauma, all that kind of stuff right away, your stress level, it then gets to your burnout level. And for some of us, you kind of get to that point where you're like, you know what? And I've heard this more and more on the news, and some colleagues, they're like, I can't do this anymore. And it's not that they can't work in the field, they need to change their part of the field. So working inpatient, I know a bunch of nurses who, kudos to the nurses and doctors and everyone who's been involved in working around the clock nonstop with everyone dealing with COVID, have said, you know what, I think I'm going to join a private practice now, where I'm going to go into just a medical office and be there. The hospital environment is tough. But then you ask them, hey, did you take time for yourself? Did you take that vacation? No, or staycation, as we're calling it these days. All right, let's see what else I got for you. So as therapists, again, we're trained in such different ways. We show compassion, we show empathy. We are so vulnerable to this stress and this fatigue and eventually burnout. Some of our cases even have ethical, legal implications that might be going on, especially if you're working with those where there's abuse involved or criminal activity involved. So it's a lot harder to say, listen, as a professor, as a therapist in the field for over 20 some odd years, I could say to my students, hey, don't take it home with you. But I have years of training of knowing how to not take it home with me, or being able to call one of my colleagues who I know that we'll do supervision with each other. Like, I just need to talk about this and I'm good to go. So it takes a lot of practice. So new credentialed therapists, our budding therapists, our students, please utilize your supervisors, your professors, and make sure you're able to speak to someone so you're not taking it home with you. Okay. So again, some of your symptoms, looking for physical and emotional exhaustion. Are you irritable? Maybe weight loss or weight gain, difficulty sleeping, headaches. And what I like about this picture also, just like that one with the gas tank, is we never let our phones go that low. Why do we allow ourselves again to be that low? Right? That self-care is so important. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, so a little bit of repetition again. Again, we as mental health providers, as creative arts therapists, we want to help people and we want to help them experience life through their therapy, through their drawings, their paintings, their movement, their music. But remember to take a step back. Listen to the stories, document it, be there with your patient. And then once the chart's closed, you got to take that break. Yes, I know, easier said than done, right? So again, there's several factors that put us at higher risks than some other professions that are out there, right? Like, I know I could speak to my dentist who says a person has a cavity, we go and we drill, boom, we move on, right? But we can't do that always with our patients because, again, sometimes we're in sites where people are suicidal. People are dangerous. We might work in the prison systems. There is depression, child abuse, and unfortunately with COVID, there is a lot of death, grief, and bereavement. But also what's going on is we could celebrate life. Those who have gotten through it, we could say, wow, I'm so glad you're here today. So we got to remember there's life out there too. I'll never forget when 9/11 happened, sitting with my patients, and they turned the TV on, they put cartoons on, and I kind of looked at them like, what are you doing? Like, we're going through this whole thing. We live in New York. And my patient said to me, Elyse, we got to laugh a little bit. And that's when I was like, you're right. And that's when I actually checked out the world of becoming a laughter leader, the world of humor, which we're going to go into in 2 seconds. So again, as you know, with mental illness, not everyone presents the same way. We all experience stress and burnout and compassion fatigue in different ways. It's recognizing it. Please make sure yourself, you do seek support. Most of the agencies you do work with do have departments now with human resources that will help you if you need it, right? So prioritize your mental health. Get used to saying, sorry, but my mental health is more important. So yes, I know that there are times you want to do overtime. The money looks great. Sometimes you have to say no. All right, how are we doing so far? Okay, we got some more time. All right, let's get into humor. What is humor? Humor is a cognitive response, provokes laughter, and provides amusement. When's the last time all of you laughed so hard that you said, I peed in my pants? It was a belly laugh and it hurt, but it felt so good. See, that's one of the hard things about being on Zoom. I can't see everybody. People of most ages and cultures will respond to some kind of humor. So we might be amused, we can laugh. A sense of humor is important. My sense of humor and your sense of humor can be completely different. But the point is we have one, right? There are some amazing world experts out there, some psychologists who are really actually doing some great research on humor and how it's helping us heal. Humor is personal, it's individual, it's subjective. I know in my house alone, my family can sit and watch The Office for hours. And I could walk in and watch 1 or 2 episodes. I'm like, okay, I'm done. And they can keep going, right? Or when you're all trying to figure out as a family, especially when you're home in a pandemic, okay, what do you want to watch today? And everyone's sense of humor is different. You're like, okay, I guess we'll find something else to watch, right? And if there are little ones around, I saw a little one pop into a screen, they're more than welcome to jump in when we do the humor exercise. It's actually kind of cute. Is humor the same as laughter? No. So what is laughter? Laughter is universal. It's inborn in all of us. So yes, when babies are in utero, they do some sonograms, you can see a baby laughing. There's been science research on that. When they're born, they're giggling, they're laughing, they're smiling. It's not just gas. Laughter is a physical response. Someone says something funny, they're gonna laugh. Someone gets tickled, they might laugh, or you might get smacked. Not everyone likes to be tickled. Always ask first. Laughter may not always add years to your life, but it will add life to your years. So people have long been drawing attention to the fact that smiling increases happiness. Well, one of the hardest things to do right now is just walk around and give people smiles, right? I mean, I used to love when I can go into a store and buy something or at the mall and you look at someone, you just kind of nod and give them a smile. And now you got to learn to be like, what is their body language saying? What are their eyes saying? So us as creative arts therapists, we take pride in looking at the person as a whole, right? From head to toe, what art director we're giving that person to do, facial expressions. And it's hard. We have to really learn to move our screens around, look at them. Can we put on one of those clearer masks? Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. They're hard to find, right? Humor is an antidote to stress, burnout, and compassion fatigue. Of course, so is art. Any of the creative arts, 100%. Humor has been used often in healthcare. There's been some great studies. So here I the humor therapist in me and the creative arts therapist, I'll let these two art, images argue it out, which is the best medicine. To me, just take it together. It's good. Okay. So there have been some great studies that have been done. I'm going to show you one quick one, and then I really want to get into some laughter with everybody, do some fun exercises, because you've all been sitting and staring at a screen for a long time. But it is an essential tool. When I was becoming trained as a laughter leader, it was great because I took my training with other therapists, a lot of nurses, respiratory therapists, and there was actually a couple of phlebotomists there, which was actually kind of nice. But Norman Cousins was one of the first people in the medical community to talk about humor. So back in the late 70s, he was really big into this research. And he believed that negative emotions had impact on his own personal health. He was going through a lot with his lungs. And he felt that if we experience laughter, it opens up joy, hope, and some confidence, especially those who are being treated with some medical stuff that's going on. So he worked with UCLA, a big medical school out in California, and they really worked and they studied and they researched and they found like, hey, in a nutshell, you're right. Okay. But here's my question. Everyone on this call right now, on this training, we're all adults. And that's why I said, if you have kids around you that are willing to come in and participate in the last session of the day, please bring them in. Why do children laugh more than adults do? It becomes easy for them. It's like a duck to water, right? We talk about that with crayons and art. It's like a duck to water. Just do it. They laugh, they have fun, they don't care. We get a little more embarrassed. Humor is funny. It should be taken seriously, but yet, it's like that paradox. Like, if you do, you're like, okay, you're being silly. If you're not, you're like, why aren't you? So there's a lot that's going on. With humor during some of the medical stuff, we have found that humor actually helps people recover medically. And again, I'm not going to throw all the stats at you because I want you to be able to do some of this, but cardiac exercise. So I worked with a nurse who worked in a cardiac unit after open heart surgery, and she'd often walk around with her red nose and get people to laugh. It was great. Muscle relaxation, that laughing, getting that belly going after surgery. Now, if anyone's had any kind of abdominal surgery, you know how much it hurts to laugh, but eventually it actually gets the muscles moving, and it's a good thing to start going. Breathing. As an asthmatic myself, sometimes I'll laugh and I start coughing and choking. I'm like, no, I need this. This is good for me. And then the brain itself, it gets our brain moving. It reduces the stress, helps us giggle and have fun. We do see the nervous reactions of people. Sometimes they'll be at a funeral and they start to laugh and people look at them like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden other people start to laugh and then everyone's laughing and they're like, okay, let's remember the good stuff now, right? I've told this story to some others, and some of you've heard this, I apologize, but I'm going to say it again. About 10, 12 years ago, my father, who now is okay, was in a coma in a neuro ICU. And it was so depressing walking in there, but I get it. I mean, everyone's serious, the nurses, the doctors, they're doing their job. And one day I said, you know what? I can't keep going in here being depressed. So I took my red nose out of my pocketbook, put my nose on, and just walked through the unit and went to my dad's room. And I heard people going, who is the crazy lady walking over to room, whatever. And they were like, I think that's the guy's daughter. Then people were laughing. And you know what? I gave them 2 seconds or 2 minutes, depending how they looked at it, of laughing. And it actually boosted the spirits of those nurses that were there. Laughter does help with pain reduction. It helps you forget about things for a while, whether it's a physical pain or a mental pain. And if you haven't seen Patch Adams, I highly recommend it, because not only does Patch teach us about the power of humor therapy, laughter therapy, he also teaches us the power of people first conversation. It is such a healthy, natural way to heal. If you look at a newspaper, the front always has the worst headline. The back, if you're a sports fan, you might even love it or you might hate it. But you get to the middle of the newspaper, you find the comics, because it forces you to stop and giggle and laugh. And it's art, so it's also nice to look at. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the World Laughter Tour. It's an organization. That's who I got certified in. My certified laughter leader expert credentials. The World Laughter Tour Incorporated was actually founded by Stephen Wilson, who's a psychologist, and Karen Buxman, who's a nurse. And they have this whole area where we get to go to and just find different ways to help people by using laughter. And it's not political in any way. It's not religious. You know, you all could read this. So it's all these non-things, and everyone is always welcome. Okay, it's not about laughing at others, not about laughing at yourself, just teaching you to laugh. Okay, you go there as a place to just, forget about things for a little while. Some people have laughter clubs. When I was working outpatient for a long time, I always had a laughter group at least 2 or 3 times a week, and any of the patients were welcome. It was great, and it was just a time to just de-stress and help patients find ways to just talk about things in an easier, lighter way. So we are going to do it in a little bit, some breathing, some stretching. Again, it's not about making jokes. If you have a great joke, by all means, please show it in the chat. We'd love to hear it. Raise your hand a little while. Tell us a great joke, by all means. We're going to make sure it's playful. It's going to be childlike. So I'm going to remind you all, we're being recorded, but forget that we're being recorded, because I do want you to be goofy and have some fun. I did this with a couple of students who are actually on this call last December, I believe it was, with our Hofstra's medical school and some of the nurses, and it was great, just getting everyone to loosen up. And I've done this with many different schools and corporations, and getting those serious people up to be up there with me wearing a red nose, being playful and relaxed. It's great. Now, before we start this, I'm going to give you some medical cautions to think about. If you have a hernia, hemorrhoids, heart disease, uterine prolapse, your late stage of pregnancy, severe cold or cough, just keep in mind, you might have a little aches and pains. And if you're late in pregnancy, I'm sorry, I cannot get there in time to help you, coach you to breathe. I'm also not a doctor nor a nurse, but yeah, just you might want to sit back and relax a little bit. Before we get started though, because it's gonna be your turn in a minute to have a little bit of fun. I like this. Karen, the Buxman, who's one of the nurses, the hospital she's worked in, she encourages units all over the hospital to put this up. And listen, I've visited patients who are in ICUs and we're, at the point where we went to go say goodbye, or, hey, it's great to see you having a baby, but I know you had a stressful delivery. And we as staff working on some of these units have to laugh sometimes, right? We've been talking about this, and people that are visiting get offended. But if you put a sign up like this in the elevators, when they enter the unit, behind a nurse's station, it makes people think. You may occasionally see us laughing or even take note of some jest, knowing that we're giving your loved one our care at its very best. There are times when the tension is highest. There are times when our systems are stressed. We discover humor a factor in keeping our sanity blessed. So if you're a patient waiting, or a relative or a friend of one seeing, don't hold our smiling against us. This is the way we keep from screaming. Again, we're wearing masks now, but sometimes you just need to give this to your staff. All right, let me take it off share for a moment. How's everyone doing? Yeah? Got some thumbs up? Okay. All right. Now, it is time to do a little laughter. Are you all ready? Okay. And I'm okay with taking your microphones off for a minute. We want to hear the laughter. We want to annoy, if you're at the office right now, annoy your colleagues next door, make them jealous that you are going to laugh for a couple of minutes. Deal?
Yeah.
All right. I heard some little voices. Here we go. Okay. All right. So one of the rules of, I guess became a rule of the laughter meetings is, or clubs or whatever it might be, is they have this cheer that they do. And some of you, I know, I see you, you've done this with me before because you've helped me present or you've been to workshops, and you're going to make sure you're going to help me with this. Okay. The rule that Steve decided was we got to have a little like opening cheer and then an ending cheer. And adults, again, we stink at a lot of this stuff. It's the kids that perfect everything for us. So again, I see some kids on the screen. We have any more kids around? Another, all right, I love it. Yes, get the kids on, because the kids are going to be the ones that are going to show you how to really do this. Because again, as adults, we hold back. You ready?
Okay.
All right, so everyone's sitting in your chair, get a little stretching, a little moving. All right, we got moved. Okay. I want you to hear this noise of this. I actually got this at Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus many years ago. One of the clowns gave it to me. He had it on his face, washed it, love it. So you're going to hear me do this once in a while. And that's going to be your break when you stop the cheer, okay? So it's very simple. I'm going to teach you how the adults first did this. And then I'm going to show you how the kids all changed it. Deal? Okay. So you're going to repeat this 3 times. Ho, ho, ha, ha, ha.
Oh, God.
Very simple. You ready? Ready? 3 times, and then you're going to hear me go, we're ready to stop. Okay? Everyone's microphones are off? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Ho, and that was horrible because we're adults, right? But now, when Steve is doing this, Dr. Steve, I should say, when he was doing this, he had a bunch of kids around. And of course, one of the kids said to him, Dr. Steve, this is really bad. You have to change it. He was like, what do you mean? I've been doing this for a while. I'm a psychologist. Like, I studied this. I've done tests on it. And they said, no, it's too boring for us kids. So at the end of it, 3 times, I want you as kids, you're going to show everyone how it's done, okay? At the end, you're going to go, yay! Okay? Y'all ready? Now watch the kids, because they're going to show you how to do the yay. Kids, you all ready?
Where is the grandma? Yes.
That's exactly what I was
Grandma,
thinking.
yeah, absolutely. There are some grandmas on here. Absolutely. All right. All the kids, all the moms, the aunts, the sisters, the grandmas, whoever, whatever title, Mima, whatever title you got. All right, so 3 times and then a yay. And then when I squeeze it, you stop. Deal? 1, 2, 3. Oh.
Oh, ha, ha. Oh, ha, ha. Oh, ha, ha. Yay.
Job. That was really good. I'm proud of you. Okay, so taking a laughter break, there were times that I've worked with people and they were in a stressful moment and they literally do the ho-ho in their head just to de-stress before a meeting or going into a doctor's office. So now I want you to do something where I'm not going to make you get fully up, but I want you to get into a position where your feet are at least on the ground planted. Okay. Y'all know what a knee slap is? You're like, ha, ha, ha. And it can be sarcastic and that's okay. Right? You're going to do a knee slap. 1 on the right, 1 on the left, and then a clap. Deal? But when you do the knee slap, you have to have a funny laugh to go with it. So everyone take a deep breath. And let it out. On the count of 3, I'll do 3, 2, 1. I want to hear a knee slap to the right, a laugh, a knee slap to the left, and a laugh, and then a clap.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Y'all ready, little ones? Yeah? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Knees up to the left. Hey, little ones, how'd they do? How'd they do? Okay, you all got thumbs up. Okay. So another one to do is pretend that you're blowing a balloon out. Right? Now, I know as an asthmatic, blowing a balloon is really kind of like stressful at times, but we're all gonna blow a balloon. And as you blow into the balloon, I want you to laugh into it, and then you're gonna hold it. Okay? And then when I tell you to let go, you're gonna giggle. So we're gonna blow laughing in, hold it, and when I say let it go, just little giggles. Okay? So ready? You're gonna blow your laughter and go. Keep going, keep laughing, keep going. And stop and hold it.
Oh my God.
All right, we're gonna let it go. 3, and it's gonna be giggles. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Okay. There's so many more exercises I can teach you. We could have a whole day doing laughter, which I would love to do. Couple of reminders. Please make sure you're doing body scans. Make sure you're scheduling time. We are going to do a quick little pledge. So let me get my little screen share back. I thank you all for willing to make a fool out of yourself with me. And it's recorded, so it's even better. Okay, so we're going to take a laughter oath. And everyone's going to repeat when it says I, you're going to state your name. And then we're going to all say this. If you have a red nose, this is when I usually have people put their red noses on. Dr. Elkis, what I might do is pick 5 or 6 people, and I might randomly just mail people some noses from our group since we have addresses. All right, so if you have a nose, and some of you do, you're going to put your nose on if you have one. You're going to hold up your right hand. Put your left hand over your heart. Oh, I see Kadisha's got her nose on. And all gonna do this together. You ready? I get your name.
Ava
Just
Kesterbaum.
you.
Okay, now read together. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly
solemnly
swear
swear
from this
Stay
day
forward.
From this day forward,
Kiss my giggling
my
ears.
giggling
my
Sure.
giggling
On my
ears
face.
to wear a grin on my
wear a
face for
grin
no
on
reason
my
at
My
all.
funny bones.
no
Often
reason at all.
Promise to help
Promise to
family,
tap my
my
funny
funny
bone
bone
laugh
often
at
with my
least
friends,
my
family,
friends,
and
family, and
colleagues.
I
colleagues.
believe
To
that
To
laugh
laugh at least
15
15
times
times
per
per
day.
day.
I believe
That
that
from
from
every
every
laugh
laugh
is
is
terminal
terminal
tightness,
tightness,
zero
zero
stiffness,
Ha
stiffness,
ha.
often
often
leads
leads
to
to
death.
death.
And that
I've
helps to I laugh from
everyone I meet and to laugh long
to brighten the day of everyone I meet and to laugh
That was
long
great.
and prosper.
Please remember, it is not selfish to refill your cup so you can pour into others, right? It's essential for you. You have permission to rest, right? Like you need to take some time for yourself. All right. Now, on the count of 5, I'm going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I'm going to take the screen share off. Anyone who's made a mask, please put your mask on. Oh, I see people turning their screens off now. No, keep your screens on. All right. Or if you own a funny mask, to me and those at Hofstra who see me often know I have my silly masks, got my art therapy masks. I think I have one right here that actually says art therapy. All right. So get some kind of mask on. Y'all ready? I'm going to count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see those masks. I love them. Those are great. These are awesome. Oh, I see some kitty cats also. And some dogs. Some screens. Even the people on the screens, you don't want to share a mask?
No.
All right. Oh, okay.
Yay.
All right. I know I've got about 3 minutes. I apologize. I know I put a lot all in one time, but I really wanted to get as much information as I could. Yeah. So please, any questions, comments, go for it.
Something I wanted to ask about with burnout is you're saying like, don't bring it home with you. All of us doing telehealth and probably doing it from home. How can you separate that?
It's important to have a separate area.
But what if that's not
So
possible?
even if you don't, so I know someone who literally has to share office space with their whole family and they leave when they're doing their office. She literally will take a huge bed sheet and she'll cover her desk. So when she leaves the area, that means she's left her work and her environment. So even by your computer, if you're able to shut your computer off, do it. If you want to cover it, make a tie-dye sheet, go for it. Somehow cover the area to just take some space away.
Elyse, there was a question in the comments. It seems that our natural laughter actually comes after the exercises. What's your experience about this kind of natural?
Yeah, so I loved when I used to work with my patients in the beginning, just like some of you were very nervous, did the same thing. And then just the natural response is just to go with the laughter and I would let it go on. You just gotta let people be in the moment, right? I'm forcing you to laugh. Just like when you go to physical therapy, right? You're being forced to exercise. You hurt your foot, heel, toe, walking, and you're memorizing it. And then when you're out walking, you don't even realize you're doing it because you've trained your body to do that exercise. So yes, in the beginning, when I'm working with people doing laughter clubs or laughter sessions, it does take them some time. And then it just becomes natural. Especially the natural giggles. I mean, I'm really pushing you all to go beyond. And I hope that you find yourself as you go into your next meeting, or you're like, okay, here we go. Do that laughter cheer in your head. And we're going to do it one more time before we close with a minute to go. And it'll be a little more natural, so we can end on a positive note. But it's okay to think of it in your head. So y'all ready to do it one more time? That ho ha ha 3 times, and then that yay. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ho, ho, ha,
Oh,
ha,
ha, ha.
ho, ho, ha, ha,
Oh,
ho,
ho,
ha,
ha,
ha.
ha.
That was
Oh my God.
awesome. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have. I love to talk about it. And when we are allowed to have people in our offices on campus, please stop by. There's always red noses around, candy around, and I want to hear giggles and laughing again because it's nice.
Thank you, Elyse. That was really great. It was a great way to end the day. We had ups, the intense and the lighter and back and forth, but this was a great way to finish up.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
It was nice meeting everybody. Can the
Likewise.
committee people just hang on a second?
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Thank
Great
you.
conference.
you.
You.